Ohio gozaimasu, this is Blake here, and welcome to my review of Maggie, the new Arnold Schwarzenegger zombie flick. So, Maggie earned a limited theatrical release, however, it wasn't showing anywhere near my location, so I decided that I'd go ahead and give this week a miss. I did not want to see Hot Pursuit, none of the other new releases were really exciting me, so why not save the time and money and just take the week off? But it happened to be Mother's Day weekend, and when I went over to celebrate Mother's Day with said mother, she decided that she wanted to watch a movie using video on demand. So we were going through all the options, we were considering various films such as Wild Card with Jason Statham. She immediately said no as soon as she realized it was a Jason Statham movie. That Imitation Game, Into the Woods. There were a few others, and much to my surprise, at the very bottom, Maggie was showing. I did not realize that it had been released on VOD. And much even more to my surprise, my mom wanted to watch it. So I think that was kind of funny that we celebrated Mother's Day by watching a zombie movie. It would have made more sense if this was Father's Day, because I think my dad would have been more open to the idea of watching a zombie movie. Yet in retrospect, he probably wouldn't have liked it as much. This is going to be a very difficult movie to talk about because I am currently in the process of writing my review for Maggie, and I'm really struggling to put my thoughts into words. I'm still not sure what exactly I feel about Maggie. Is it a great movie? Is it a bad movie? Probably not in either case. I think there's too many flaws for it to be considered a great movie, and yet it has too many successes in order to be considered a bad movie, so we scale it in. Is it a good movie, or is it a subpar movie? I'm going to have to say somewhere in between. There's a lot to like about Maggie. It does a lot of things incredibly well, and yet I kind of felt it missed the mark in the long run. Yet it's sort of funny because, once again, I keep going back and forth because I have to admit, Maggie sometimes really did work its magic on me. But before I start talking about the film's qualities, know this. Even though it has Arnold Schwarzenegger and is a zombie flick, it's not an action movie, it's not a horror movie, it just happens to have an action star playing the lead, and it just happens to be utilizing a horror setting. It's a straight up drama. It's not about shedding blood, it's about shedding tears. So if you go into Maggie thinking that you're going to get a traditional Arnold Schwarzenegger shoot 'em up, and it just so happens that the victims are zombies, you're going to be incredibly disappointed. It's not a horror film, it's not an action film. So in order to enjoy Maggie, you have to be prepared to watch a drama, and you have to actually want to watch a drama. So on a technical level, the film is pretty good. It has, I thought the editing was solid, the music was good, the cinematography was good. The director did a good job at creating a very bleak and moody atmosphere. I thought he utilized his low budget incredibly well. After the end credits rolled, I started to realize how there weren't many zombies, there weren't many extras in general. There were very few locations, and even though they kept talking about the quarantine, they never actually showed it. So you might be disappointed by all of that, but I was more impressed that I did not think about any of this until the movie was over. I just was engaged enough into the story that I just didn't pay attention to what obviously had to be a very limited budget. So that was good. The acting is very, very good. Everybody's been heaping praise upon Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance, and he deserves it. He does a great job. It's much more introverted than usual. He was definitely believable as a father in mourning, who's both in denial yet at the same time resigned. So yeah, he was excellent. I actually thought the girl did better, but she also had a more interesting character arc, so that I think gave her more room to act. Uh, but even better than that, I thought they had wonderful chemistry together. I was really glad that there wasn't any real tension between them. I was expecting there to be a lot of infighting. Because most movies, whenever they have a father-daughter relationship, usually they're at odds with each other. There's some backstory where the father was either overbearing or never there, so they often would clash. But in this case, no, they seem to get along fine. And the parts where they're bonding are very touching. Very heartwarming or tear jerking. I thought those scenes were phenomenal. They had excellent chemistry. And even Arnold Schwarzenegger's wife, who's her Maggie's stepmom, you're expecting some friction there. But no, I thought that was actually a very interesting dynamic because the stepmother seems to have some sort of phobia in regards to the zombie virus. She never touches Maggie directly and seems kind of uncomfortable around her, and yet she's trying her best, to be the loving stepmother, to be as nice to her as possible. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and like I said, the tear jerking parts are very tear jerking. There are some moments where, yeah, I was threatening to tear up a bit. I think the scene that actually got to me the most was when Maggie has just had a kind of a party with her friends, and her best friend takes her home, and they have this sort of awkward but heartwarming moment between them. That then once they hugged, it was just like, oh, it's so beautiful. So yeah, the movie does have some great moments like that. The reason why I can't embrace it is A, it's just too unflinchingly depressing to the point where I eventually just stopped feeling anything altogether. I don't think that was the point. But also, I find there to be something incredibly superficial and shallow about dramas where it seems like the bulk of the content is designed of characters staring into nothingness for long periods of time. Whether it's the sky or it's just a close-up on their faces and they're just kind of looking morose. That does nothing for me. Maybe in like little bits and pieces, but it seemed like in Maggie they really overplayed that card. The best parts are when characters are interacting in some capacity, and yet Maggie as in the movie, seems more interested in just showing, Arnold, or I should probably use his character's name, Wade, because Arnold does a good enough job that I don't just see him as Arnold Schwarzenegger. Wade and Maggie are together, but they're just staring off in opposite directions, and once again, the camera's got to show how sad their faces are, and it's like, we get it. It seems like the drama would have been more profound if they played up the happy moments between them, where they're trying to make these final days in Maggie's life count. Because the plot is she's infected by a zombie virus, and even though she hasn't turned yet, she's going to, and there's no cure. I mean, you know that this is not going to end very well. So like I said, the parts where they're bonding together, that really not only was heartwarming, but also reinforced the tragedy behind this storyline. Whereas I just didn't feel that whenever it would show them just kind of like 5 minutes later, finally, then they start talking. I'm just not a big fan of that at all. And there's certain ideas that I felt were left underdeveloped, such as it's possible that there is a trace of humanity left within these zombies, like when Arnold Schwarzenegger or Wade encounters two random zombies, he says that thought he saw something in their eyes, which, considering what he's ultimately going to have to deal with in regards to his own daughter, should set up for a very interesting dilemma. And yet, it's just like they bring it up and then they don't do a whole lot with it. And I just kind of felt like that was a waste. And also, was it just me, or was Wade gone through large chunks of the movie? You'd think that if his daughter had so little time left that he would constantly stay around and think of things for them to do in order to enjoy the time. Even the stepmom says that's all that there's really left to do is enjoy the time they have together. And yet, they don't really do anything. Except once again, stare out into the horizon and mope. That's not good cinema, in my opinion. That's just kind of being manipulative, but not in a way that I could really admire. But you know, like I said, when the characters are interacting, that's when the film got me. That's when Maggie was successful. I just felt that the director maybe was trying a bit too hard to be artsy with these long shots of nothingness. And to me, that just sort of degraded the quality of the picture. So I plan on having my written review up by the time you watch this, so please read that. Would I recommend Maggie? Yeah, if you know what you're getting into and that sounds interesting to you, I'd personally say it's definitely worth watching on the small screen. Whether it's on VOD, I thought, $7.99 was worth it, I guess. Netflix, Hulu, or whatever you use to watch movies on your television. Would I go to the theaters? Maybe. I guess it just comes down to how much you want to see this and how much you actually know about this. Once again, do not expect an action or horror movie. Expect a drama, and if a drama with zombies and Arnold Schwarzenegger giving an incredibly good performance interests you that much, then yeah, it's not bad enough to avoid in theaters, but I'd still say it would be safer to watch it on the small screen. Oh, sorry, I had to film an extra bit for this review because there's one other important aspect that I forgot to talk about: the ending. I really did not like how this film ended. It resolves itself in a way that I could only describe as a cop-out. It's not playing it safe or anything, but I don't know, it just seemed like so much of the movie is building up to this moment, and for the film to not really give us this moment was just it left me feeling very unsatisfied. So that's all I have to add there. Enjoy the rest of the video. So that is all I have to say. Not only did I do a written review of Maggie, I've also done written reviews of Five Fingers of Death, The Scorpion King 4, Duel to the Death, and I believe... and Dragon Princess, a Sony Chiba movie. So all kung fu martial arts movies. And of course the entire Puppet Master franchise. So read all of those. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I shall see you guys later.